It's always Gold FM for us at Golden Point, Raki Raki.
Gold FM is #1 in Lusaka.
Gold FM is Nandi's best radio station.
It's always Gold FM with us here in Singapore.
Old is gold and Gold FM is #1 here in Lusaka.
Singapore loves classic hits on Gold FM.
Listen to Gold FM here in Tagua.
We love Gold FM in Bang.
We've got beautiful beaches, people, and Gold FM in Raki Raki.
Lotoko loves the classic hits on Gold FM.
Gold FM, only the classic hits.
In this bulletin, Fiji Rugby Union's $3 million FRU funding suspended. More people likely to be charged for New Year's Eve strike. And new laws being drafted to care for the welfare of seafarers. Hello and welcome to FBC News. I'm Amrita Priyadarshini. Leading news tonight, the International Rugby Board has suspended funding of over $3 million to the Fiji Rugby Union. An IRB audit has found FRU is not up to par with the operating standards of the governing body. The IRB says it is saddened by this and hopes to help the FRU to ensure that all administration and governance reforms are delivered and funding is reinstated. Indra Singh has more.
The Fiji Rugby Union claims the suspension of funding of over $3 million is something that has come to haunt them because of the previous administrators. The IRB has announced, quote, that it is to suspend all direct financial support to the Fiji Rugby Union with immediate effect until the union adopts key financial reporting, administration and governance reforms, unquote. This comes at a time when the FRU is in dire need of the much-needed cash. But IRB says they are only acting on, quote, recommendations that arose from an IRB major union review which was conducted after the FRU requested emergency financial assistance in May last year, unquote. It further says, quote, the IRB and the Foru Regional Association have formally expressed concerns that the financial position of the union is unsustainable and could create instability and impact on the management of the union and key IRB-funded development and high-performance programs, unquote. However, FRU Acting Chief Executive Berlin Kafoa says the suspension of funding is something that will drive them to better the outlook and work according to the IRB guidelines. He claims, quote, that all these issues were inherited by the current FRU board and the board expects to clear up all these issues by the end of May this year. And in October 2013, the current FRU board welcomed an IRB audit which was delayed twice by previous management, unquote. Now with revelations that the books are not in order, this current FRU board is working on policies which will not only take the sport forward but also put them back into the good books of the International Rugby Board. Indra Singh, FBC News.
The team from the Fiji Police Force is continuing investigations into the strike at Narewa village at the end of last month, which was declared illegal by the Labour Ministry. Apisalame Dhoka reports more people are likely to be charged.
The Fiji Police Force is now investigating people it believes instigated the illegal strike by 300 workers.
Well, we have interviewed 20 of those that are involved. As we have already known that 6 have appeared in court. These are the officials, those that have initiated the illegal strike. However, the rest, the files have been submitted to the DPP for further advice for the charges to be laid. Then it will be carried out. But at this moment, the team of investigators have interviewed 20 from those that went on the illegal strike.
Those who went on strike on New Year's Eve included workers from Sheraton Villa, Sheraton Denara Resort and Spa and Westin Resort. ACP Tunrabu confirms that not all 300 will be charged.
In cases like this, only those that instigated the strike are the ones that are to be targeted first. However, all of them will be interviewed or some statements recorded as witness, and it will depend on the nature and the cases on the advice of the DPP.
The Commissioner Western, Commander Choeli Dhawaki, and officials from the Labour Ministry will visit Denarau on Tuesday to help with investigations. Apisalome Dhoka, FBC News.
Seafarers can expect better things to come their way in the future. The Maritime Safety Authority of Fiji, MSAF, is drafting new laws that will guarantee sailors better working conditions.
The directive has come straight from the International Labour Organization.
One is their living accommodation. It covers catering, food, water, the basic necessities. It covers also medical, social security aspects of seafarers. So these are new things that are coming into play, where seafarers are not covered, and they suffer because these requirements were not there before.
The question is why now the International Labour Organization, after receiving complaints of incidences over the years, decided to work with the International Maritime Organization, resulting in these new laws being drafted, which Fiji is obligated to implement.
The ILO has a competent body looking after the interests of any maritime labor, any labor, when you talk about labor. So they had to work with IMO to bring up a law, a convention, to address the rights of seafarers, because it was never addressed thoroughly by any convention that existed beforehand.
John Tunindau is urging stakeholders to familiarize themselves with the new maritime laws and implement them accordingly.
The laws is not for the government alone. The laws is theirs. They have to comply with the laws, and if there is anything that is not clear with the laws, they can contact us directly. Okay. The laws are actually on our website, and it can be also picked up from the office.
MSAF has warned it will take people to task if they are ignorant towards the new maritime laws. Mikolonga, FBC News.
Coming up, Fiji Airways to review its in-flight services.
Today FM is #1 here in Singapore.
We love Today FM in Lambasa. It rocks!
My favorite station in Nandi is Today FM.
I love Today FM because they play the awesome song.
Loto kasi di love Today's kid music.
I love Today FM because they play all my songs.
We love Today FM at Vuniva Lambasa. Yeah, it rocks!
I love Today FM because it rocks.
Today's hit music on Today FM.
Bulan 2 sa Batolo FM and number 2 ay Raki-Raki.
Bula FM number 2 in Nosor.
Go etapo ke boto ko sa Bula FM nga.
Bula FM number 2 ay Corvo.
Bula FM number 2 ay Sawa. Bula FM number 2 ay Lotoka. Bula.
Number 2 ng Bula FM member.
Bula FM
number 2 NSR in Singapore.
Hotel talita kada warung ng Bula FM Lotoka.
Ali akar warung Bula FM number 2 NSR.
Bula FM number 2 NSR.
Welcome back to FBC News. Fiji Airways is reviewing its in-flight services as part of 120 projects aimed at improving the airline. Ritika Pratap reports this is in response to complaints from passengers.
The airline admits it's copped criticism for its meals and other on-board services.
We did a restructuring, so we have now new people looking into that. Before, we had nobody accountable for the on-board product, nobody. So now we have somebody accountable for all that, and the key priority for those guys, for this lady in this case, and the team is to look into that and review it and come up with a strategy which we will implement in 2014.
Stefan Pishla says this will be a thorough review of all in-flight services to ensure that passengers get the best of Fiji Airways.
So now we have to make sure that we have somebody who is Mr. or Mrs. Product, and say, okay, let's look at all the customer touch points. Let's make sure there's one consistent Fiji Airways service experience. And this is also the point one of our strategic objectives. If you want to create an aspirational Fiji Airways brand, you have to have a consistent service experience for every customer at every flight.
Pishla adds the airline's cabin crew members are some of the most professionals in the field, and they will capitalize on this to provide better services. Fiji Airways also has a customer care and complaints section to ensure that all issues are addressed.
A review of the product on board, which goes from in-flight entertainment into the in-flight magazine, of course into food and services on board, and this will be reviewed, and the deadline for this review is the second quarter of 2014, usually until the end of June.
Passengers mostly on shorter flights have previously complained about poor meals or portions which are too small. Once the in-flight review is complete, all this should be resolved. Ritika Pratap, FBC News.
Coming up in sports, Fiji Sevens coach looks at the final team. Also, Nandi and Ba play out draw in football opener.
देश की धड़कन रेडियो FBC is number 1 in Singatoka.
मैं लंबासा के निवासी, मेरा नाम प्रेम चंद्रा है। देश की धड़कन रेडियो FBC को मेरा सलाम।
नैनी में देश की धड़कन रेडियो FBC।
रेडियो FBC में देश की धड़कन मुझे बहुत अच्छा लगता है।
रेडियो FBC is number 1 in Singatoka।
नैनी में मेरा धड़कन है रेडियो FBC।
हम नन्नूपुर की रहता है और हम रेडियो FBC हरदम सुनता है।
हमें रेडियो FBC सुनो बहुत अच्छा लगे, आप भी रेडियो FBC सुनो।
देश की धड़कन रेडियो FBC।
Talita na radio FBC 1 na mwira ni nondo konoa.
Ando talita kana borrongo na radio FBC 1 Singatoka mbole ni station ni alumatu.
Ando talita kabale una borrongo na radio FBC 1 station ni alumatu ilotoka.
Ando talita kabale una borrongo na radio FBC 1 Nandi na station ni alumatu.
Au tuloy korbo. Ando borrongo lebe na station ni alumatu na radio FBC 1. Ando borrongo na radio FBC 1 na station ni alumatu na mandoi tele.
Na radio FBC 1 nandu mo ibitin bonga ni BNN.
Welcome to FBC Sports. Now, as mentioned earlier, IRB has suspended funding to the Fiji Rugby Union. However, reports surfacing in overseas media of government interference as the reason for the suspension has upset FRU. FRU says the ruling by IRB has got nothing to do with the state.
The Fiji Rugby Union says in times as such they are going through, government has always been supportive of the sport. This comes as reports surfaced in New Zealand media that IRB suspended funding to the FRU due to government interference. FRU Chair Filimoni Wangambada says, quote, "We state that the suspension of funding support is not due to government interference, but on the need for FRU to improve its financial management, administrative and governance matters," unquote. The latest twist by reports abroad has disappointed the FRU hierarchy. Wangambada says, quote, "Government has always supported FRU during critical periods. The report in the New Zealand media about government interference in FRU is mischievous, misguided and grossly inaccurate," unquote. He says the overseas media should ascertain facts before reporting on matters pertaining to the FRU. Meanwhile, acting FRU Chief Executive Berlin Kafua says they have embarked on setting procedures which will get them back on track. He says with a major sponsor to be announced next week, they are now looking at ways to limit handouts. With the current board looking at bettering the situation, all that is left is the waiting game. Indra Singh, FBC Sports.
The three-day Las Vegas tournament will prove to be a major hurdle for the Fiji Sevens rugby side. Coach Ben Ryan knows too well he needs players who will stay fit and be ready to go the extra mile to do battle. Indra Singh has more with Ryan.
With all the controversy surrounding the sport in the country, the national seven side is more focused on what lies ahead. After naming the 17, it is now up to the coach to name his 12, and the question is what he will be looking for in selecting his final team.
It's been difficult, and next week will be even harder. That's how it should be. I don't think we should be able to just roll out the 12 and know that that's who they are and there's no competition. What I'm looking for is form, as I have done this week, and I'm also looking forward to making sure we've got a complement, a nice mix of players that we need so that we can cover in case of injuries in the tournament, in case of a slightly different game plan that we might need to have in Vegas on a 58-metre pitch, which is 12 metres narrower than Wellington.
Coupled with this, Ryan is taking all into consideration before naming his final team. This includes the format at the Vegas tournament.
And also it's 2 games a day over 3 days, which is also different to what we've had. So all those things go into my mind when you're selecting. But it won't be too far off really the type of mix that we've had in Dubai and Port Elizabeth, forwards, backs ratio.
Sevens could just be the only bright spot in the current dilemma Fiji rugby is facing. Ryan has come to the rescue of the abbreviated code and maybe this time also prove to be the messiah for the sport in general in this country. Indra Singh, FBC Sports.
Nandi played out a thrilling 1-1 draw in the opening match of the Pillay Garments champion versus champion match yesterday. However, the result brought about despair for one coach and joy for another. Indra Singh with more.
This is what champions are made of. After Nandi took the lead against the men in black, Ba didn't give up despite playing away from home.
The time we started playing football in the second half, we were moving forward. But when we were playing long balls, those were the times we were losing out because we did not have any tall people up front. So we decided when they came out to have water, there was one injury. I told them to keep on playing. It's 15 minutes to go. And that kept them going. And we scored a late equalizer.
But Ba can count themselves lucky as Nandi could have won comfortably. However, as the saying goes, in football, only the goals count.
You look at the misses after Ba was reduced to 10 men. I think we could have won this game easily, and unfortunately we could not because of lapse of concentration. I think has cost us the game.
The men in black will sure be back next weekend to try and win its 18th CVC title, but without striker Osea Vakatalisao, who was red-carded yesterday.
We'll have to decide because it won't be Prince Charles Park, it will be Govin Park, and whereby the safest will allow us to play better football there.
Nandi will have to go back to the drawing board and know too well what lies ahead.
We'll be working on our strategies, we'll be working on our defense, and we have got our two more experienced players will be back, so I think it will be a positive sign.
And if the first match of 2014 is anything to go by, we are in for a thriller of a season. All the fans will want is similar action throughout this year. Indra Singh, FBC Sports.
Apart from Suva, fine weather was experienced over most places this morning. Afternoon or evening showers are expected today. Severe tropical cyclone Ian was located about 190 kilometers southeast of Tonga at midday. It is moving southeast at 12 knots. Temperatures were fairly even, all in the low 30s except for Suva, which was 29 degrees. Fine conditions can be expected tomorrow morning, turning to cloudy conditions and possible afternoon showers. The outlook for Monday: some showers over the eastern parts and interior of the larger islands, afternoon or evening showers elsewhere. Southeast winds 15 to 20 knots, moderate to rough seas, moderate southeast swells. The headlines once again: the International Rugby Board has suspended its $3 million funding to the Fiji Rugby Union until the FRU gets its house in order. More people likely to be charged over New Year's Eve strike at Narewa village. And new laws to be drafted for the safety and welfare of seafarers. To the poll question this week, we ask, should the government fast-track its projects for 2014? Go to www.fbc.com.fj to take part. Remember, you can send us newsworthy pictures and videos on email, citizenseyes@fbc.com.fj, or share it with us via our Facebook page, FBC News. Or if you're on Twitter, follow and tweet us your news tips at FBC News or simply hashtag FBC News. That's your news for tonight. See you again next weekend. Good evening.
Old Town Tower में it's only Mirchi FM. Mirchi FM is hot.
ताकि हर घर में खाली मिर्ची FM बजे. मिर्ची FM it's hot.
Best sound, best music, Mirchi FM rocks and records.
Nani का #1 station है Mirchi FM. Mirchi FM is hot. Mirchi FM it's #1 in nursery.
Mirchi FM is hot. हम लोग मिर्ची FM रोज सुनता है. मिर्ची FM जागो मामा.
Mirchi FM